March 1st, 2016. I, Maureen, am shown a blanket floating in the air. It is frayed at the corners. Our Lady says, "Praise be to Jesus." Trust is like a coverlet which protects the heart from doubts and fears. When self-interest invades the heart through free will, the coverlet of trust begins to unravel. This is so, for the soul lets himself begin to trust in his own efforts more than in God's provision. Every present moment, every human experience is woven into the coverlet of trust to attain God's will. It is in this way, when everything is accepted with trust in God's will, that weaknesses become strengths in God's plan. Trust does not allow any part of the present moment to be wasted on fear. Trust in God's mercy does not allow guilt to take over the heart. The more tightly woven the coverlet of trust over the heart, the more God is able to use the soul as his instrument. God is the master weaver, and he incorporates into each life reasons to trust in him. March 2nd, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." Dear children, the Eucharist is a very special gift. It is given to bring unity in truth. If I did not point out error, however, I would be supporting error. Recently, reception of the Holy Eucharist by those outside of a state of grace is being encouraged by certain church leaders. This is wrong and against church doctrine. I come for all people and all nations to this site. This includes Catholics. So as I am the mother of all, I claim the right to address and correct such a blatant error. These messages and the spirituality offered through them are scrutinized by church leaders. They should take the time to scrutinize their own actions and how they are misleading so many into sacrilege. Every precaution should be taken by the soul before reception of the Holy Eucharist as to the certainty of the state of grace he is in. The Church has always taught this. During these times, less respect of the Eucharist strengthens the collapse of tradition. Hierarchy must not encourage unity in error, but unity in truth. March 3rd, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." When obedience interferes with prayer, it is not of God. I come to you seeking your holiness and your love. Those who oppose this mission only read the messages hoping to find a way to support their negative positions. They can read and reread all they want, but there is nothing against faith and morals in any message. I come always seeking your welfare, which is your salvation. Those who discourage your faith in this mission have chosen to discourage heaven's intervention during these most evil of times. I would not need to come here at my Son's behest if sin was clearly defined from the pulpit and if doctrine was strictly adhered to. As it is, confusion is in leadership positions within the Church. Evil is accommodated, and social justice is lauded as the way of salvation. I do not come to assist you in changing the laws, but in upholding the laws. I am here to help you to recognize what is good and what is evil. This is basic to your salvation. The conscience of your country clearly needs a renewal in this grace. Therefore, come here often and pray. Let no one discourage you. The angels are awaiting your arrival here, as am I, your heavenly Mother. March 4th, 2016, Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." I tell you, no soul can increase in holiness without first passing through the flame of my heart. It is within this benevolent flame iniquity is revealed and resolved. The flame of my heart surrounds the soul as he makes his way through the chambers of our united hearts. The flame of my heart is a protection from sanctimony, the pride of self-righteousness, and from false virtue performed to impress others. The flame of my heart is a conviction in the truth. Do not fear this flame, for it does not destroy, but builds up. This is a flame that recreates the human heart in the image of holy love. It is a flame which illuminates the soul with self-knowledge, so vital to the spiritual journey. All who desire a deeper relationship with my Son must cooperate with this flame. It is present in every heart that desires spiritual perfection. March 4th, 2016. Our Lady of Fatima comes standing on a globe of the world. She says, "Praise be to Jesus." I must tell you that the Republican Party must unite. Otherwise, the opposition will benefit and win. This election and its outcome will impact the whole world. March 4th, 2016. Jesus is here with his mournful heart exposed. He says, "I am your Jesus, born incarnate. I did not come to save just one, but all." Pray for those who are causing the most trouble in the world, those who do not believe in the truth. They continue to wound my mournful heart. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 5th, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." I tell you solemnly, I come to heal the heart of the world with the balm of holy love. The ones who most need this balm refuse it, for their hearts are tied to the world in many ways. Love of money, power, reputation, all ways to be important in the eyes of man. God does not look at any of these superficial means of importance. He looks at the commitment to holy love in the heart. The heart of the world can only be changed one heart at a time. It can only be changed by recognition of the truth. Those who try to manipulate the truth so as to make it more accommodating to many are only fooling themselves. God is not manipulated. The change must come in hearts to accept the truth, not in truth to precipitate change. Souls need to love God enough to try to please Him by changing their lives. This is true conversion of heart. A note is given to read 1 Timothy chapter 1, 13 through 14. Though I formerly blasphemed and persecuted and insulted him, but I received mercy because I had acted ignorantly in unbelief, and the grace of our Lord overflowed for me with the faith and love that are in Christ Jesus. Scripture verses asked to be read by Mary, Refuge of Holy Love. March 6th, 2016. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. I tell you, good that is divided against good is not of me. Take, for instance, as is the case so often, one apparition site opposing another. This disunity of purpose weakens the cause of both heavenly interventions. Heaven intervenes in a specific way at each site. This also holds true in politics and in many secular and religious environments. Disunity weakens and opens the door to evil. I have sent my mother here to this site to ask for unity in truth, the truth of holy love. This is the key to discerning good from evil. How distressing that seemingly good people cannot comprehend the good of my mother's call here. How sad that self-interests supersede my call to personal holiness. How grave the sin that selfish ambition misleads a multitude. Once again I plead my cause to all people and all nations. Do not look at the ways you are different, but at the ways you are the same. Do not let opinions divide you, but respect one another. If you disagree, let it be amiable. Do not hold grudges which divide. Look for the good in your neighbor. When you surrender completely to holy love, you give me everything, and I give you everything you need to be at peace. March 6th, 2016. St. Joseph is here and says, "Praise be to Jesus." Please understand that parents have this solemn responsibility to help their children form opinions in the truth. Opinions lay the groundwork for actions. Therefore, be good examples of holy love and influence your children in this virtue. I'm imparting to you tonight my fatherly blessing. March 7th, 2016, Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." From its inception, your nation has been a hallmark of truth. In recent decades, however, this has not been the case, as politics has taken on moral standards as their responsibility. Now it appears that some who aspire to high office are not even held accountable to speak the truth. The fact that such as these are even considered electable speaks volumes in regards to the moral standards this nation has sunk to. This nation was founded on love of God and neighbor, and consequently every freedom which supports holy love. But freedom is not every whim and fancy people choose to pursue. Freedom is the right to make choices which support good and reject evil. Freedom is the right to hold government officials responsible for their moral choices without being accused of bigotry. As it is, money has given some a free pass as to accountability. This will not be so in my son's eyes. His laws do not change to accommodate political platforms. He is not impressed by popular opinions. Your nation needs to return to the God-given basics it was founded on in order to return to stature in the world. This is not attainable by one person, but by many. However, one person, if placed in prominence, can further tear this nation down. March 7th, 2016. Blessed Mother is here as Our Lady of Grace and says, "Praise be to Jesus." Dear children, during the remaining days of Lent, please pray very hard for the citizens of your country, the USA, that they accept the grace of recognizing good from evil. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of holy love. March 8th, 2016, Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." We at Holy Love will always remain a conservative faith community, not looking for ways to redefine doctrine to accommodate more members, but always supporting the truth of tradition. There will be a majority who will follow new concepts of thinking, ways that are more lenient and more inviting to fringe membership. Many in authority will see these ways as acceptable. This is why Jesus suffers in his mournful heart when he considers the abuse of authority that is to come and the many who will be led astray. These are the times when you must pay close attention as to how and where you are being led. A note is given to read 2 Timothy chapter 3, 1 through 5. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of stress. For men will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, inhuman, implacable, slanderers, profligates, fierce, haters of good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, holding the form of religion, but denying the power of it. Avoid such people. Scripture. March 9th, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, Praise be to Jesus. More and more in society, in politics, and in church circles, you are going to be seeing differences between liberals and conservatives. It is very apparent in this election your country is experiencing at this time. But I am here to help you decide always for holy love. Holy love does not allow you to compromise the truth to appease man. Holy love is always the choice that most pleases God. Holy love does not embrace so-called freedoms, which are really grave sins. Holy love preserves the difference between good and evil. It is important, dear children, that you realize it is Satan who promotes this conflict between liberals and conservatives. He is making opinions into battlegrounds and the heart of man into contested territories. Ultimately, the victory will belong to truth. However, in the meantime, many souls will be misguided and lost. Leaders, take note. Depend on holy love to help you to hold fast to the tradition of truth. March 10th, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, Praise be to Jesus. Dear children, I come once again to call you into holy love, the embodiment of God's commandments. His commandments are not just his opinions and something to be negotiated. His commandments are his laws. You must obey his commandments in order to win your salvation. The way to live out his commandments is to live in holy love, to love God above all else and your neighbor as yourself. When I appeared at La Salette, I was weeping for man's disregard for respecting God's name and keeping holy the Sabbath. How much more must I weep for the grievous sins of today? There is little respect for effort in personal holiness or for human life from conception to natural death. Sodomy is supported by law. Anyone who opposes moral degradation is termed a bigot. Yet my son's arm of justice has yet to fall. I plead with him to be patient and to allow the remnant faithful to increase. I plead with each of you to be united in holy love which bears the truth between good and evil. Do not take his commandments lightly. Be serious in your efforts to live in holy love. Challenge others to do so as well. Dry my tears with your efforts. I love each one of you and long to spend eternity with you. March 10th, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, Praise be to Jesus. Dear children, I come once again to call you into holy love, the embodiment of God's commandments. His commandments are not just his opinions and something to be negotiated. His commandments are his laws. You must obey his commandments in order to win your salvation. The way to live out his commandments is to live in holy love, to love God above all else and your neighbor as yourself. When I appeared at La Salette, I was weeping for man's disregard for respecting God's name and keeping holy the Sabbath. How much more must I weep for the grievous sins of today? There is little respect for effort in personal holiness or for human life from conception to natural death. Sodomy is supported by law. Anyone who opposes moral degradation is termed a bigot. Yet my son's arm of justice has yet to fall. I plead with him to be patient and to allow the remnant faithful to increase. I plead with each of you to be united in holy love, which bears the truth between good and evil. Do not take his commandments lightly. Be serious in your efforts to live in holy love. Challenge others to do so as well. Dry my tears with your efforts. I love each one of you and long to spend eternity with you. March 11th, 2016. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. There is much debate surrounding the upcoming election for president of your nation. I tell you in all truth, if people do not see this as a battle of good versus evil, evil will take the upper hand. To conquer evil, it must first be identified and then attacked on a spiritual level. The political opinions of the candidates are not your enemy. Who inspired the opinions is your enemy if the opinions embrace abortion, birth control, and same-sex marriage. Those who choose to embrace such things are supporting evil. You need to pray that they do not succeed in their political goals. Pray against the power of Satan that has won over their hearts. Opinions, you know, turn to dust in eternity. Holy love determines your eternity. Be diligent in your embrace of holy love. A note is given to read Ephesians chapter 6, 10 through 18. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we are not contending against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the world rulers of this present darkness, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your loins with truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the equipment of the gospel of peace, above all taking the shield of faith, with which you can quench all the flaming darts of the evil one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Pray at all times in the Spirit with all prayer and supplication. To that end, keep alert with all perseverance, making supplication for all the saints. Scripture verses asked to be read by Jesus. March 11th, 2016. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My brothers and sisters, it is my desire that all people and all nations be attracted to this message. Therefore, I am asking you to be emissaries of our united hearts by being holy love to everyone. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 12th, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, Praise be to Jesus. A great mechanism is dependent upon the smallest part to run properly. This is true in the spiritual life as well. A soul may strive to live in holy love and to be holy love, but there may be one problem in his heart that prevents holy love from being fulfilled. Perhaps he holds unforgiveness in his heart towards one person. Maybe he holds in his heart a spiritual pride or envy. Perhaps he is prone to calumny or rash judgment. He may even be a person of prominence in the world, but fails to lead the souls in his charge in righteousness for fear of losing popularity or revenue. Any small error in holy love prevents the whole attitude of holy love from taking root. This is why an examination of conscience is so important every day. If you cannot humbly discover your shortcomings, you cannot correct them. Holy love is like a great machine with many parts or virtues. All of these virtues need to work together so that holy love is fully functional. Do not impede holy love in your heart by refusing to look carefully at your efforts. You are given the chambers of the united hearts to help you past the superficial and into the depths of divine love. March 13th, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, Praise be to Jesus. I wish to tell the world why they should come to this apparition site. Jesus invites you. I invite you. You receive the blessing of truth here. Your conscience is enlightened to see how you should improve in God's eyes. You receive an extra angel at Maranatha Spring to help you to live in holy love. Many graces, healings, and miracles abound here by heaven's hand. These reasons, to name a few, should far outweigh any reason not to come. This is the place where heaven has touched the earth. The blessing point is a special sign of this grace. Come and see. March 14th, 2016, Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, Praise be to Jesus. Dear children, many do not realize the grave importance of this election as to the future of your nation and the world. What hangs in the balance is democracy itself, which is threatened by choices made to replace your Supreme Court justices in the near future. Learn from the mistakes already made in the approval of abortion and same-sex marriage. The checks and balances the forefathers set in place are crumbling. Constitutional rights are being challenged. The next president will either pull this country together in righteousness or further scatter to the winds unity and truth. I am assigning a special angel to stand guard over the Supreme Court justices. His name is Obadiah. He will make every effort to influence unity and righteousness and truth amongst the body of the government. Please pray that your next president makes conservative choices when it is time to do so. March 14th, 2016. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My brothers and sisters, do not allow the storms of life to disturb the peace in your hearts. With love, trust in me. I'm imparting to you tonight my blessing of divine love. March 15th, 2015, Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, Praise be to Jesus. The hope of your nation is the recognition of God's good as opposed to evil. This is most important during this election year. People are easily confused by political rhetoric, which is often the compromise of truth. This is a pivotal time in your nation's history, a time when the wrong choices could destroy democracy, taking away basic freedoms forever. Never was there a time when it was more important for good to be united. Never was there a time when it was more crucial for all to recognize the direction some proposed leadership would take you. You have good reasons to oppose some who are politically ambitious. They have proven themselves untrustworthy. Why then would you entrust them with your nation's highest office. This is the hour to step away from the evil that has gripped the heart of your nation over these last years. This is the time to allow God's good to be victorious in your justice system. The right choices must be made in the replacement of Supreme Court justices in the near future. This cannot and will not be accomplished through liberal leadership. Do not allow your nation to become weaker and more vulnerable through misguided leadership. Do not place your loyalty in someone who does not support the truth. Unite behind good, good that will not support abortion, same-sex marriage, or euthanasia. This nation's greatest enemy is taking form within its very heart in the form of the compromise of truth. March 16th, 2016, Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." Listen carefully and believe in what I say. Those with religious vocations must not believe that their vocation saves them. It is a virtuous life which saves every soul. Title and authority in the world carry no weight at your judgment. However, you will be judged according to the fulfillment of your obligations to your flock. You must be examples of holiness in the world. Many a one held in great esteem during their earthly journey now suffer the eternal flames of hell. They did not endeavor to define sin as opposed to good. They brought politics into the religious world. In doing so, they made popularity with some a goal and distanced themselves from many a holy comrade in faith. They used their vocations for human purposes and rewards, not to please God. They misused their authority towards fulfilling God's will, but to control and manipulate. I can see the good that has been bypassed by the ill use of vocations. I know the souls that have been poorly influenced and lost by such as these. I also see the ones who will not benefit from my words today and who will even take offense. Believe me, it is your Heavenly Mother now speaking and calling you into the light of the truth. Search your hearts. Do not mistakenly think that social justice fulfills God's call to you. True justice enlightens every heart to recognize the difference between good and evil. Every soul has the right to be instructed in this. This is your call. March 17th, 2016, St. Patrick appears with a staff in his hand, and he has the bishop's mitre on his head. He says, "Praise be to Jesus." You have heard stories growing up of me driving serpents out of Ireland. Let me tell you, the most dangerous serpents were the ones in hearts. Ireland was a pagan territory that cried out for conversion. I never experienced a fair weather march like the one you're having now. The weather was chillingly damp, cold, and unwelcoming. I suffered from arthritis, just as you do, but the continual damp and cold worsened it. There were no warm beds, and often no accommodating clothing. I suffered all of this for the sake of souls. Nothing is more precious than a soul, or more worthy of sacrifice and prayers. Knowing now how many were converted and saved, I would do it all again. Pray that paganism does not take over Ireland once again. Please ask Our Lady, Protectress of the Faith, to protect the faith in Ireland. March 18th, 2016, Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." The reason there is so much unrest in your nation surrounding the upcoming election is people cannot distinguish right from wrong, good from evil. They have allowed their opinions to become like gods, which cannot be challenged or questioned. At the same time, God, who is very real and omnipresent, has laid before mankind commandments which are ignored and blasphemed. For peace to return to the world, hearts must return to holy love. God must be allowed once again to take dominion over the heart of the world, and his commandments once again set in place as the rule of life. No other course of action will suffice. Those who are listening and believing in these messages have the solemn obligation to pray for unbelievers. March 18th, 2016. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, "I am your Jesus, born incarnate." My brothers and sisters, make a recommitment to the cross for the remaining days of this Lenten season. Persevere in all your prayers and sacrifices which you began this season with. Pray especially that hearts are able to discern good from evil and unite in the truth. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of divine love. March 19th, 2016, the Solemnity of St. Joseph. St. Joseph comes with a staff in his hand. He says, "Praise be to Jesus." I have come and have been sent to encourage those who live in holy love and admonish those who do not believe in holy love, or worse still, oppose it. Holy love fills the soul with a healthy fear of the Lord, so that he lives out every present moment with an eye towards his own judgment. Those who shun the grace of holy love do not hold themselves accountable to God's commandments or recognize their responsibility towards earning their salvation. Such as these live to please themselves through money, power, and importance, and all the pleasures the world has to offer. They are not aware of the action of evil all around them, and even within their own hearts. As patron of the dying, I try to open hearts to the reality of their state before God. As terror of demons, I defend those who call upon me in their last agony. Take heed of what I am telling you today. The most fearsome demon is the one who tries to convince you none of this is true. March 20th, 2016. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. When I was in the world, I had to speak against the powers that be in an attempt to convict their hearts in the truth. I have placed this mission here today so that I may speak the truth again, despite opposition from those in high places. No one is given power or authority in the world against my Father's will. Yet many behave as though their power is their own and their authority irreproachable. I faced seeming defeat in my crucifixion at the hands of those who refused to look into their own hearts. But the cross was not a defeat, it was a victory. My supporters scattered to the winds in the fear of those in power. This is at the heart of all the opposition in my mission here. Defeat through fear of those in authority. But just as my cross was a victory, so too will this mission be victorious in the truth of the New Jerusalem. March 21st, 2016, Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." In the world you appreciate it when your foods are prepared in a proper manner. For instance, you wouldn't want ice cream served to you warm or a steak served cold. In a similar way, your heart must be prepared properly for the arrival of the celebration of Easter. This is accomplished through your efforts in personal holiness during this Holy Week. Make every effort to please Jesus in many small ways. If you do not have time for a whole rosary, say a few Hail Marys. Make the most of every present moment, diverting attention from yourself and focusing on God and others. This is the way to live in holy love always, but especially during this holy liturgical season. If your hearts are properly prepared, my Jesus will be at ease in your hearts on Easter. He will be most appreciative of your thoughtful preparation. March 21st, 2016. Blessed Mother is here as Our Lady of Grace and says, "Praise be to Jesus." Dear children, tonight I request that you offer everything during this Holy Week, that souls accept the grace of discernment of good from evil. This is the grace that can change the future of the world, if souls will accept it. Tonight, I'm blessing you with my blessing of holy love. March 22nd, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." God does not condone the taking of life, not in abortion, euthanasia, or any form of terrorism. Those who believe they act in the name of God by taking life have been misled by Satan. Demons are all around you, encouraging small acts of evil, often under the guise of good, and hoping to lead souls into greater evil. This is why I tell you the way to defeat evil in the world today is to recognize it and oppose it. Holy love is the measure of what is good and what is evil. Certainly, violence and the taking of human life do not reflect love of God and neighbor. You cannot accommodate evil by refusing to label it as it is. You cannot bargain with Satan. God is all mercy and all love. The more you trust in him, the more he will direct your hearts and your lives. He will lead you to good and help you to oppose evil. He desires your stronger discernment. March 23rd, 2016. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." There are leaders in place today who have no leadership capabilities. They may be good politicians, but only bring chaos to the midst of confusion. Then you have leaders who carry a hidden agenda in their hearts and whose policies weaken the cause of freedom. For these reasons, I once again caution you, dear children, as to whom you follow. Do not be like sheep that go whatever direction you are led. Do not support the agenda of opening the portals of your country to everyone. This is an evil that looks good, but invites in danger. All countries should combine their efforts to care for the refugees in one area of the world. To allow them to scatter everywhere in a humanitarian effort only spreads danger around the world. While taking in refugees may satisfy social justice, it nurtures terrorism in heretofore safe areas of the globe. This is an area where all should work together in holy love with wisdom. People cannot unite when they are void of holy love. Therefore, I call you back to the reality of the truth of holy love, which is my call to peace and security. You will be unable to solve your present-day problems unless you first unite in holy love. March 24th, 2016, Holy Thursday. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My real presence in the Holy Eucharist is my love and my mercy. The more the soul believes, the more he receives. Belief is the intermingling of all the virtues within the heart. Most of all, the soul needs to trust. March 24th, 2016, Holy Thursday. The Stations of the Cross. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. It is my desire this Holy Thursday night to give to the world lessons on the way of the cross. I suffered for all sins and for specific sins at each station. Listen. 1. The first station commemorates my condemnation to death. I suffered for all who are condemned falsely and all who are unrepentant. 2. The second station represents my acceptance of my cross. How many refuse, despite all their sins, to carry their cross? 3. The third station is my first fall. So many slip into sin and become discouraged by one fall. 4. The fourth station commemorates my encounter with my mother. How often souls have the opportunity to console those in need, but never do it. 5. The fifth station represents Simon's reluctance to assist me. So many souls desire to be close to me, but try to do so without carrying their cross. 6. The sixth station remembers Veronica wiping my face. Think how she had to die to herself, setting aside her own safety and welfare in order to comfort me. Be self-effacing. 7. This station represents another fall. Do not fall into sinful habits. 8. The eighth station remembers my consoling the women of Jerusalem. Allow me to be your consolation when others fail you. 9. The ninth station recalls another fall. Search your hearts and overcome recurrent sinful patterns. 10. The 10th station recalls how I was stripped of my garments. Strip your hearts of all vanity. 11. The 11th station recalls how I was nailed to the cross. It was my Father's will that held me to the cross, though the nails pierced my flesh. Be devoted to the will of my Father. 12. The 12th station commemorates my death. Do not worship this life which is passing. Let your hearts ascend to heaven. 13. The 13th station sees me taken down from the cross. This death of mine was a victory in disguise. How many do not see the disguises Satan wears? 14. The 14th station, I am laid to rest in the sepulchre. Do not rest in doing good and opposing evil until it is time for your eternal rest. So many waste precious moments given to them to earn their salvation. March 25th, 2016, Good Friday. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. I tell you, the greatest pain I felt on Good Friday was the pain I suffered in my heart for the lack of love in the hearts of those who crucified me. Is this not a similar pain the unborn must feel as they are being aborted? There is an epidemic of lack of love in the world today. Human life is not respected. The result is violence, terrorism, and, on the opposite extreme, an imbalance towards social justice, which leads to the accommodation of sinful lifestyles. Love me with your whole heart and all your strength. Then you will love my commandments and obey them. Then our hearts will beat as one. March 27th, 2016, Easter Sunday. the solemnity of the resurrection of the Lord. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My dear brothers and sisters, you are living in an age when truth has been crucified. Good is portrayed as evil, and evil is misrepresented as good. Truth, however, will be resurrected in the New Jerusalem. Until then, the nail prints of my crucifixion have been imprinted on the truth of good versus evil. Those who sincerely seek to discern the truth suffer greatly at the hands of unbelievers. The intentions of my mournful and sacred heart this Easter are for the victory of truth in all hearts through holy love, which defines good as opposed to evil. Pray for this. March 27th, 2016, Easter Sunday, the solemnity of the resurrection of the Lord. I am your Jesus, born incarnate, risen from the dead. Alleluia. Today, my brothers and sisters, I invite you to recall how Mary Magdalene came to the tomb on Easter morning. She did not recognize me and thought I was a gardener. When I spoke her name, she immediately realized who was speaking to her. How many today do not recognize me in the Holy Eucharist or in these messages of holy and divine love? How many today do not even search me out? On Easter morning, the tomb was empty, but hearts were filled with hope and joy. Allow me today to be present to you and to fill your hearts with Easter joy. Look for me amongst the living. I am with you. March 28th, 2016, Monday of the octave of Easter. I am your Jesus, born incarnate. Alleluia. Each soul on earth is on a pilgrimage working towards his eternal reward. Some are taken off track by believing in untruth and therefore accepting evil as good. Some accept good in the beginning and may even become consecrated religious, but allow indifference or ambition to destroy what I have placed in their hearts. This mission is in place to hold souls on the path of truth and therefore the path of salvation. Holy love, the two great commandments of love, help the soul distinguish between truth and untruth, good and evil. Without this tool of discernment, the soul is blown to and fro on the winds of confusion. Please comprehend, then, that those who oppose holy love are strengthening evil in the world. Do not become confused by who believes or disbelieves. Pray for the grace to stay on track. March 28th, 2016. Jesus is here with his heart exposed. He says, I am your Jesus, born incarnate. My brothers and sisters, tonight I urgently ask that you persevere in prayer for the conversion of the heart of the world. When you pray this way, you are praying for each and every heart. Tonight, I'm extending to you my blessing of divine love. March 29th, 2016, Tuesday of the octave of Easter. Mary, Refuge of Holy Love, says, Praise be to Jesus. Dear children, you know the flame of my heart as it is associated with the first chamber of our united hearts. It is a benevolent yet purifying flame, burning away all iniquity, thus allowing the soul to progress through the subsequent chambers. A great part of this purification is recognition on behalf of the soul as to his errors. Today I tell you, the heart of the world must pass through the flame of my heart before the New Jerusalem can be established on earth. These times of purification of the heart of the world will bring hardships and trials never before experienced in the world. God will bring souls to the realization that they must depend upon Him for their survival. Many things taken for granted in the past will be considered luxuries. Freedoms will be challenged. You, my children, must understand that I am holding your hand when you pray the rosary. Therefore, you are never far away from me, nor I from you. Grace will be your companion. You must trust in this. Do not try to estimate times or situations. Allow God to be God. You cannot outguess Him. March 30th, 2016, Wednesday of the octave of Easter. Mary, refuge of holy love, says, "Praise be to Jesus." Truly I tell you, people need to rely on God in their every need more than in themselves or other people. Trust in human effort alone opens the door to satanic interference. Those who trust in God's intervention have less to suffer in any trial as they open the door to His grace. Begin to put this into practice now, so that in the hour of trial it comes naturally. A good way to begin this effort is to use your angels as they should be used, your heavenly helpers. March 30th, 2016, Wednesday of the octave of Easter. Our Lady comes all in white with 5 or 6 angels around her. She says, "Praise be to Jesus." Many do not invoke their angels enough, and thus are void of their assistance. People do not understand the ways angels can help them. For instance, angels can act as emissaries, suggesting peace in the midst of conflict. Angels can reverse the direction of satanic storms, such as hurricanes and tornadoes, and even weaken them. Angels encourage acts of kindness and discourage evil. It is your angel who leads you around danger and into safety. It is your angel who shows you what situations to avoid and what people to avoid. Turn your spiritual ear towards your angel and listen.